Okay, it is October 9th,
That's right.
and welcome to Out of the Ordinary. I'm Jay, and this is
Brendan.
and we're going to talk about acting. This is, I know nothing about acting, but I know that you have done some acting work. You're an actor. What do they call that when you're known as an actor?
When you're a working actor is really when you're consistently doing projects and getting paid for them every now and again.
And then is there some sort of designation or card, or how does one say, hey, I'm an actor?
Well,
because I looked you up, you're on IMDb, I saw you on that, so.
Yeah, I mean, as far as how people can find you, a lot of it is going to be word of mouth. I mean, especially in some of the bigger circles. If you're talking in bigger projects,
right?
Especially if you're talking in bigger projects, SAG affiliation, and even in some of the lower projects, as to something to like a student film with USC or something. Right. And so outside of that, you have websites you can utilize where you can submit all of your headshots and videos, voiceover demos. You can put all of your resume stuff, your stunt work, all of your classes. And those websites are really the biggest resource as to how you can get your name out there.
That's where like people that are looking to find you would look.
Yeah, so if you didn't know me, one of the things that they used to do.
Sorry.
That's all good. One of the things that they used to do back in the day was what they would call a cattle call. And so before COVID, really, what had happened was you would audition, or you would submit yourself online, or your agent or manager would, and you would show up to a job, to the audition, and there could be 50 to 100 or more guys that look exactly like you.
So if you're like a 1 in 50 or 1 in 100
you're looking
shot.
at a doppelganger, right? So
that'd be so intimidating.
It can be, right?
Oh,
especially
my God,
when it's guys
no
that look
way.
exactly like you, and you're like, I'm perfect for this role. I read the script, and then you walk in and you're like, all right, that guy looks a little more like you thought, right?
So he's also perfect for the role, so is he?
Yeah,
so
he's yeah.
Oh my!
So you have all these groups of people,
Brutal.
and before COVID had happened, you would go in, and oftentimes it could be that there were a lot of people that you would start to recognize because you would see them over and over again. Well, after COVID,
right, because you guys would get called for similar things.
Right.
Sure, of course.
Right. So then after COVID, when obviously people weren't going out, you had masks, you had all these things, you had to then do it all online and do a video submission is what we do now. And they've just recently started going back into in-person auditions, especially on the commercial side.
Okay, so in doing some research on you, I found 2 things that I thought were really quite professional and good.
You actually found some things on me?
Yeah, I did.
My.
One was a football commercial. And the other one
football commercial or football? Oh yeah.
That was a football commercial.
Yep.
What was that? Remind me what that was again.
I did an ad. It was a funny story, but to make the answer short, I did a hype video for the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
And so I got to snap to Matt Stafford. I got to do a celebration video with Cooper Kupp. I watched Aaron Donald warm up. I went into the locker rooms, met Coach McVay for the Rams, right? And I was in SoFi well before anybody else had even been there because it wasn't open to the public yet. They were still finishing. And so I was one of the big things that led to a couple other great projects.
Okay, well I remember I saw that one. And then the other one that I saw was, it was a Western, but it looked like it was a Western, and you fighting some dude.
Yeah.
What was that one?
So that was probably I was a professional actor for 7 years. I acted, and I still consider myself slightly working, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the biggest claims to fame in Hollywood, because I was there for only 5 years, is I got a background job as an actor for a Western. And it was a 4-day shoot, and it was only supposed to just be the 1 season. But after those 4 days, the crew and production really liked me and working with me, that they kept calling me back in. So I did 2 more seasons with them, and then another project, a different TV show that they had with the same producers.
All I know is fake or not fake, I don't want to fight you.
Yeah.
That looked legit. Yeah. That was really good.
So what was great about that scene, and the other actor I was with, it was in a show called Elkhorn, and it was the first season that they were doing this.
Wait, Elkhorn, like one word?
Mm-hmm. Elkhorn, one word. It was the premise of the show is about Teddy Roosevelt, and I think before his Rough Rider days. So he's a young man. He hasn't been president yet. He's running through his wild days as a hunter and whatnot. Well, in the show, I play one of the villains to Teddy Roosevelt's, good guys.
Okay.
And so the actor that was playing against me as one of the good guys, I was bigger than, I had a little much more stunt work than, but he was the good guy, so he had to win.
I was watching. I'm like, this dude's not gonna win.
Right. and so the whole shooting, we had stunt choreographers that mapped everything out. But when they were doing the actual filming, they were like, "Well, Brendan, can you pick him up? Can you do all?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like throwing him around like a rag doll, and they're like, "Oh, this is perfect."
So when you're doing this, like when you're in a situation like that, you've been selected, you've been cast, and you're there, whatever. Like, are you more like excited, like sweet, or are you like nervous, like scared?
It depends on the role, honestly. If you're doing background work, when you get casted to do like specific stunts or specific backgrounds, like they call a stand-in. If you're called in for a stand-in, it's because you look exactly like this person from the back of the head. So those kind of works, you're not really doing much other than just being in certain positions and doing emotion, right? Yeah. But when you're cast in for especially those bigger projects where you have lines and you have those things going on, I'm a little more nervous because you don't want to mess it up. There's a big budget.
And it's also considered like a break. Like you got
absolutely
got it.
You want to show up and do your job well because you want
in front of everybody.
Right. Well, first of all, there's that whole like stage fright anxiety of like I don't want to mess this up. But doing well means that somebody's going to remember you and call you back, and then all of a sudden these building blocks start to snowball.
Gotcha. So walk me through like your journey, because like you're how old are you?
I'm 28.
28. Okay, so when did you first go out to Hollywood? How old were you?
I left a couple months after I graduated college in 2018. So it was August 27th of 2018. And I know that date because my uncle left for his time in Hollywood on August 27th of like 1999.
So were you 23?
I was 22.
22.
I was 22 years old. Yeah,
right.
I just turned 22 and I was heading out.
Okay, and so when you go out there at 22, now you didn't have any contacts in this industry, like you were going in green, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay,
I didn't even have family out there.
So what is that like? Like say I'm fresh out of high school, maybe I fresh out of college, and I'm like, you know what? It's my dream to be an actor. Like what is someone going to go through? Like what would I do
different, or
what
were the things that I wish I had done?
What would you tell somebody that's going to take your path and wants to like be the next Tom Hanks or whatever? Like what's the
the biggest piece of advice I would say is if someone is really considering moving to Hollywood, I would tell them to make sure they absolutely want it. Because Hollywood is going to chew you up and spit you out. Now,
that's what they say.
And it's true. All right. Now, obviously, I'm not Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise. So, like, I didn't make it to the highest of levels.
They're like half his height. That's why I say
that's also true. Yeah. I'm taller and larger than all those guys. But as someone that rubbed elbows with a lot of very wealthy and famous people and was in the running for many movies and commercials and television shows, came down to me and a couple other guys. I got booked for a lot of other big things and had worked in sets with big actors.
Yeah, you were officially in the scene.
Oh yeah, I was officially in the scene. I was a working actor. Even if I was a C-list actor, I was there. I would say you have to really make sure that you want it, because it is a tough business where it is all about who you know, what you say, how you behave, where you're at, the kind of projects you want to be a part of. It's a tough business where people are not going to treat you fairly, and you really have to offer them something of value for them to take interest.
Probably got to have pretty thick skin too.
And you do. Yeah, you have to take rejection. I mean, I was a professional actor for 7 years, and in those years I had agents and managers, and I did some kind of rough math. And in 3 years I was with one agent, I was submitted to roughly 3,000 something auditions. And so that's 3 years. And so if you kind of look at it by year, on average, if you were doing about 1,000 submissions every year, that's about 7,000 professional submissions. That's a lot. And of those 7,000, I might have had auditions for, over those 7 years, maybe 100, maybe 2.
Definitely a numbers game.
Right? And then you look at, okay, well, how many, then callbacks would you get? Meaning, you do the audition, they like you, they want to see you again for something else. That's what a callback is. I maybe had 50.
And how does one even get an agent if they're new?
Yeah.
Like why would an agent even take on someone that's new? I mean, how does that even Like,
Yeah,
how did you
how
find
do
an
you go
agent?
about getting an
How did you
agent?
even find an agent?
The first piece of advice is to anyone wanting to get an agent, you never pay an agent. An agent or a manager or somebody that works with you in the entertainment industry takes a percentage of your earnings, meaning that they have to get you jobs to get paid.
Yeah.
So you have to go in and audition with them like you would for a TV show and say, well, this is the monologue or the scene I'm going to do, or this is my highlight reel, whatever, and they see something in your abilities that they don't already have in their roster. Meaning that if
so you
there's
might have to see more than one agent.
right, because there may be some agents that have somebody that is also 6'4", brown hair, blue eyes, athletic build,
Yeah.
white guy, and they go, well, this guy's great, he might have great acting skills, but I
I got
have
one.
2 other guys on my roster, and I got to be fair to those guys. Or, you know, whatever it is. Or maybe someone then says, well, wait a minute, I haven't seen anybody like this, and he's pretty good. I should take him on my roster.
So if I'm a new wanting prospective actor, and I go out there and I'm trying to do my thing, and I come across an agent and they want to charge me money, is that considered a red flag?
That's a red flag.
That's a
Big
red flag for a scam or
yeah.
whatever
And you can
else.
find these agents anywhere. Like, yeah, you can find them on the streets, but you can, you know, Google talent agencies and submit to them. You can go to talent agency workshops and pay money to go and audition in front of them in person. You could, back in the day when I was there in 2018, the first couple years, I was sending it via mail. Like you would go to a store called Sam French in West Hollywood, which doesn't exist anymore, and all the old actors know what this is.
Okay.
You would go in and buy these pamphlets that had a list of every talent agency, and then you would buy. They had pre-made packets that had a window on a big like 8x11 envelope that you would put your headshots in and your resume, and you would mail them. That way, if they got the mail, they would see at least the headshot and then go, no, I don't want it. At least they saw it, right?
Smart.
So you could go in and had all the like stickers with the mailing addresses and things on it too. So it was really simple to do back in the day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is getting an agent the first thing somebody should do, or do you have to have like, you know, like headshots and a resume built ahead of time before you go to the agent? Like,
I would
like
say
what's the order?
there's an argument to be made. You don't need an agent or a manager, and that is entirely up to the person. For me personally,
Like a DIY type.
correct,
situation.
right? I mean, there are musicians like Chance the Rapper and Bill Murray, who's an actor. They don't have any representation. If you want to get a hold of Bill Murray, the rumor is you have to call the landline and leave a voicemail for the project you want him to do, and he'll hear it and go yay or nay.
Wow.
That's kind of what happens.
He's
Same thing with
his own
Chance. If you want to work with Chance, you got to contact him directly or whatever. But he has no representation.
Wow.
So there is an argument to be made. It can be done. It's very difficult.
That's unusual.
That's unusual, and you know there are arguments to do both or the other. But to answer the question, if you're wanting to get an agent and you're wanting to go that route, my advice would be if you can get some headshots, get some headshots. If you just have your phone, take it on your phone, okay? And go and submit to those ones online or go to their workshops and go do that. But even if you're wanting to just get into acting, find the websites, which LA Casting, which is Casting Networks now, sorry. Actors Access, Casting Frontier, even Mandy I think is one. Backstage, that's another big one. And find those websites, submit a headshot, and then, you know, start submitting to those places, because most casting agents are going to book you primarily off your look. There's a lot of them that are going to look at that and go height, weight, you know, all this stuff, and they go, okay, at least he fits the bill.
Yeah,
and then
right.
go
That's
for the
a good
resume.
start. I never thought
So
about
you
that.
want to start with your look and get those headshots, and then build a demo reel. And honestly, with a demo reel, my advice would be do student projects. Big time, because those guys are going to be the next generation of directors and producers, the ones coming out of USC, New York Film Academy,
That makes sense.
AFI, all those places, right? Even here in Arizona, GCU, I worked with a number of, you know, producers and managers and directors, and those guys, they may not be Hollywood, but they're doing commercial stuff too.
You're saying a lot of words and acronyms. I don't know what they are,
yeah.
but I'm sure
A few people
I'm
might.
sure the people, the audience that this is
Yeah.
for, are going to understand.
Sure.
So that's good, though. I mean, that's credibility. For
Yeah,
sure.
I mean,
so what would you say is the best part of being an actor? Like, what did you enjoy the most, or what did you find
The money
most?
and the fame, no.
Well, I mean, yeah, sure, if you make it, but like, what did you enjoy out of it?
I would say it goes back to my statement of what would you do if you're going to go out there? You got to really want it. So for me, I really wanted to be a part of the craft. It was never about money. I mean, sure, maybe my younger self would say there was some vanity in there. I mean, that's what drives someone to Hollywood.
As you say, you're not there if you don't have a little
But
bit.
predominantly for me is I loved the craft. I loved becoming somebody that wasn't me. I loved researching that person, thinking like them, dressing like them, understanding, You know, if I'm going to be this Western, right? If I'm going to be, I was posse member number 1 or something in the Western I shot,
Yeah,
right? I had a great time understanding, okay, what would this guy have eaten this morning if he was going to go get into this gunfight? What was he doing that led him here? Why was he a lawman? You know, what would he wear? Was his teeth yellow? You know, how did he hold his weapon? Did he shoot like this? Did he shoot, you know, in a certain style? Like really diving deep into understanding what was going on in the minute that they were doing it, you know, how they cleaned themselves, you know, all those things played into this character. And you could take that deep and go that crazy on any role if you really wanted to. And those are the guys, that take it that far are the ones that are going to go well,
Is that getting close to what they call method acting?
Yeah, I mean, it can be. I mean,
what I don't know what it is.
So So method acting would be to the extremes of acting. And so you have people like Daniel Day-Lewis, who is the Heath Ledger, even Shia LaBeouf has done this, and a number of other actors. They're not the only ones, but essentially what it is if you're going to be method acting, let's take Daniel Day-Lewis in Last of the Mohicans, for instance. What he did as a method actor was live out the character outside of him filming. So if he's playing this 18th century, you know, Englishman who was raised by, I think it was the Native Americans or grew up in that area, he was actually living like that person would in that era. He's not bathing. He's wearing the same clothes. He's eating from out of the river, eating fish and whatever he could find. Like he's as if living that person in that year that was not actually where the filming was taking place.
I think I heard that Tom Cruise did that in Last Samurai.
Same thing. Yeah, right. Actually living amongst, you know, Japanese people, understanding how those things happen. I don't actually know if that's true or not, but yeah,
but if it, I understand what you're saying. Okay, so let's go the other way. What's the worst part about this whole ordeal? Like what's rough about it? Right.
Yeah, I would honestly say the roughest part is going to be the actual business behind Hollywood. You know, I mean, you have business, you have production studios that have to adhere by budgets and board of directors, investors. You have this whole side of Hollywood that is run by money. And that's exactly where a lot of the problems with the creativity is coming in. And so when I say that you have to be somewhere, be somebody, say these things, do these things, you know, take for instance P. Diddy. I mean, how many people within the wealthy and the famous were connected with P. Diddy before all these things came out? Same thing with Epstein, same thing with all these other people.
And also those people that are connected with him, you would think at the time, I've made it. I'll do whatever I kind of need to stay in the game.
You're hungry, so you want to do and appease these people.
Like you'd be in a really rough
you're in a tough
circumstance.
Exactly, you're in a tough position to then go, if I turn this person down, is this going to keep me from working?
Well, and particularly if they held a grudge and knew other people, they could ruin somebody in a minute. Don't ever work with this guy.
All of those things are so wishy-washy and so on it. And then you even have like casting directors that won't cast people because it looks too much like their ex-wife or this person that bullied them. That was a common story that happened a lot. Directors didn't take on somebody that was perfect for the role because this woman looked like his ex-wife.
Wild.
So it gets that nitty-gritty.
And they're in charge, so.
That's exactly right.
It also would, I don't know, but you could probably speak to this, like, it seems like going there because California ain't cheap.
True, yeah.
Like, it feels like you'd need to go there with a pocket full of dough or have 8 roommates or something. Like, how does one, am I exaggerating, or is that kind of like, so?
No, that's part of the reason I got out was because it's so expensive to do. I mean, you're talking average rental in a place. If you're wanting a 1-bedroom that's decent, you know, that you could live by yourself in Hollywood, you're going to pay north of $2,000 to $3,000 a month. It might even be more. If you're living in the Valley, in Burbank, or in some of those exteriors, you might be able to find something that's $1,500 or under $2,000. But if you're wanting something brand new, you know, all of these nice amenities and things like that, have fun paying $4,000 to $5,000 a month.
It also seems tough to me though, like unless you went out there and you already had like a pile of money, right? You're trying to get booked and go through and get scheduled for these acting jobs and these auditions. At the same time, you might have to hold down a normal person, would have to hold down a normal job, and then you're trying to like navigate that scheduling, right? Is that crazy?
It's true, yeah.
It seems like that'd be a big challenge.
Yeah. Most actors are doing bartending or serving tables or working odd jobs that allow them a lot of flexibility and a lot of
right.
maneuverability between companies, which is restaurants.
Do they tell them like that up front? Like, would you go in and say like, "Hey, I'm going to be a server for you, but
I'm also an actor.
I might get a call here and there." And then
Most of them know.
They already
most
know.
most restaurants
They're
know.
already-
If
like-
you're working in restaurants,
Yeah, they're
you're
like,
an
"We
artist
know."
of something. You're making music, you're
Okay.
painting, you're acting, you're doing something in the industry or adjacent to it. They all know.
Gotcha.
It's a common theme.
Okay.
Yeah, so you'll do that, or whatever you can. If I could do it again, I would have found something in sales. That's what I would do differently,
Gotcha.
big time.
Okay. Any other advice you would give to somebody that's looking at this, that's maybe or considering it?
I would say one of the couple things I would have changed in my own career could I do it again?
Yeah, that's great.
I would focus on where I'm at with my own career in my actual zip code, meaning if I'm in Minnesota, I met one of my first years in Hollywood, I met a young filmmaker who was a friend of mine's from high school. It was her cousin, and her family was very concerned about him moving to LA.
Okay.
And I gave him the piece of advice I wish I had taken, which was focus on what you have there and make what you can out of where you're at, because you'll come in with much more love for the craft yourself and a lot more footage for yourself as well as a consequence. So you can walk into these places with already established footage. Even if they think it's nothing, at least you have footage of yourself.
So to make sure I got this, I don't want to put words in your mouth,
Sure,
to make sure
sure.
I have this right. What you're saying is to anybody that's maybe thinking of getting into acting, the acting craft, let's say I live in Minnesota.
Sure.
Rather than uproot myself immediately and go to Hollywood, see what the scene is like in Minnesota, even if it's small, even if it's tiny.
Absolutely.
Get in with that group, because I'll probably have a better chance, and also I'll build up some experience. And then, after that, kind of like that's community college and Hollywood's the university. Is that a good way to look at it?
I would say at the house and in your own communities, it's community college, and Hollywood is the pros.
Okay.
I mean,
I see.
as much as
Yeah,
it could say,
that makes
it
sense.
is the tip of the top. I would say whether you're in theater and you're wanting to break into acting on stage, join a local theater and do that for a number of years, and then consider New York. If you're wanting to film someplace and there is no filming in Canton, Ohio, start your own. Get a camera, gather some people, that your friends, your family, and start writing scripts and performing them and seeing how you like it and how you can adjust and how you can make these things where you're at. I'll say this as the last thing kind of with it.
Yeah.
Some of the best films these days are indie films. They're coming out of people's basements. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You want to know where some of the greatest projects are coming out of? It's shot on iPhones with people like Charles Dance, who read a great script and say, I'll film it on an iPhone even though I'm a Hollywood actor, and have shot multi-million-dollar projects. It's those films. It's those people. They're making the next stuff.
Right. Perfect. Well, everybody, you just met a Hollywood actor, and I just interviewed a Hollywood actor. Thanks, Brian.
Hey, thanks very much. You got it.
All right. That's cool, dude.
So there you go.